Imagine standing aboard a rocket, your hands shaking with excitement, your heart beating so fast it feels like it's about to burst out of your chest. The Earth is gradually receding, its blue beauty is getting smaller, and the darkness of space is embracing you on all sides. This is the moment you've dreamed of your whole life, but never thought it would become a reality. Tears of joy mix with fear as you experience for the first time what you could only read about in books and watch in movies. We stand on the threshold of a new era, an era when space no longer belongs only to astronauts and nations, but everyone who dreams can experience weightlessness, see the planet from above and understand how vast our world really is, and at the same time fragile. This is the story of the companies and people who made space accessible to everyone, and the emotions that forever changed those who dared to take this flight. The first space tourists were not comic book heroes or superpowers. They were ordinary people, businessmen, billionaires, people who had spent their lives dreaming of what most people thought was impossible. In 2001, Dennis Tito became the first private passenger on the International Space Station. His face, filled with a mixture of fear and admiration, became a symbol of a new era, a time when space was no longer the exclusive domain of astronauts and government programs. But that was just the beginning. Previously, the idea of private space flight sounded like fantasy. Humanity looked at rockets and satellites and thought, this is not for us, this is for the chosen ones. And then companies appeared that decided to break this barrier. Elon Musk's SpaceX set itself the goal of not just launching a rocket, but making space accessible, cheap and safe. Each Falcon 9 launch became a small celebration of human courage and technical genius. People watched the broadcasts and dreamed, how can I do this? Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic emerged in parallel. Jeff Bezos of his Blue Origin talked about the first million people in space, and Richard Branson of Virgin Galactic created a unique atmosphere of the first suborbital flights. Each company competed, but they all had one common dream: to give people a chance to experience space firsthand. These first flights were not just technological achievements. They were a test of human nerves, endurance and courage. Every passenger, putting on a spacesuit, felt fear. Fear of the unknown, of the rocket launch, of the weight of space. And at the same time, incredible excitement. When the rocket left the Earth, people on board felt weightlessness for the first time, saw the curvature of the planet, and tears of joy, laughter, admiration mixed into a single storm of emotions. Imagine yourself there. The Earth becomes a small ball, the oceans and continents turn into colored spots, and you realize that the whole world, all the problems, all the petty disputes suddenly seem unimportant. The only thing that matters is this moment, this freedom, this miracle of space. People who returned from such flights said that their lives had changed forever. Their values, priorities, worldview, everything had changed. But space does not forgive frivolity. Technical failures, stress, physical exertion, all this made the flights risky. Each launch required incredible preparation, discipline and trust in the teams that created the rockets and ships. At the same time, the fear of the unknown made the passengers' emotions even stronger. They cried, laughed, held each other's hands, realizing that they were alone among billions of stars. And now we stand on the threshold of a new era. Space tourism is becoming more accessible, companies are planning the first regular flights, tickets are no longer just for billionaires, but for those who are ready to take a risk and make a dream come true. The Moon, Mars, orbital hotels, all this ceases to be fantasy. Humanity is discovering space for itself, as it once discovered new continents, but now the scale is even grander. This is a story about courage, technology and most importantly, about human emotions. About fear and admiration, a mixture of joy and awe that cannot be expressed in words. Every space tourist, every company, every rocket becomes part of this great dream, which is no longer limited to imagination. Space has become a reality, and it has forever changed people who dared to look at the Earth from a height where it seems tiny, fragile, and incredibly beautiful. When we look back at the first flights, it's easy to forget how much fear and doubt was aboard each rocket. All these people, billionaires, businessmen, ordinary enthusiasts, were experiencing something incredible. They were taking to the skies not just as tourists, but as pioneers of a new world. They were pioneers of emotions that humanity had never before given a name to. The fear that something would go wrong, and at the same time the excitement that they were doing something that most people only dream of, all of it mixed into a wild storm of emotions. SpaceX has become a true symbol of revolution. Elon Musk didn't just build rockets, he built a bridge between dreams and reality. Each Falcon 9 launch reminded humanity, we can do anything if we dare. Passengers who climbed aboard the Crew Dragon described the moment of separation from Earth as something beyond any notion of freedom. The feeling of weightlessness, when the body suddenly ceases to know what it is to be down, changed them forever. One of the first tourists said that during the flight he first realized the true value of life. Not money, not work, not everyday worries, but the simple miracle of existence. Virgin Galactic offered a different experience. Suborbital flights that lasted only a few minutes, but their intensity was unforgettable. Rich Branson wanted to create not just technology, but an emotional moment, a moment when a person sighs in delight, when space does not seem alien, but becomes close. When a passenger lifts off from Earth, he sees not just the blue of the oceans or the borders of continents, but feels the unity of humanity. All the problems, petty quarrels, troubles, all this suddenly seems unimportant. Blue Origin took a slightly different approach. Jeff Bezos built rockets as a symbol that space should be accessible to people, not just a select few. His goal is 1,000 million people in space, 1,000 million dreams that go beyond the planet. Each New Shepard launch is not just a technical achievement, but a celebration of the human spirit, a confirmation that space is no longer a mystery, but a space for all who dare to dream. But along with the excitement, there was always fear. Passengers felt physical pressure, fear of falling, of technical malfunctions. Each launch is a challenge not only to technology, but also to the psychological resilience of a person. People on board held hands, hugged each other, laughed, cried and whispered words of support. These moments are something between a celebration and a test, and everyone who went through them remained forever different. Upon returning to Earth, passengers spoke of the changes that had taken place within them. Some described a sense of humility before the grandeur of the universe, others an unprecedented joy that a dream had become a reality. Everyone understood that space was not just open to humanity, it opened the human heart. It was an era of new possibilities, when man stopped looking at the sky with envy and fear, and began to experience it as his native environment, as a space where he could open up, feel freedom and understand how wonderful life on Earth is. Companies that dared to make space accessible were not just creating technology, they were opening the door to a new dimension of human emotions, understanding of themselves and the world around them. With the advent of regular space tourism flights, humanity began to discover a new dimension of emotional experience. Each flight became a small revolution. Dozens of people who had never dealt with rockets or spacesuits went beyond the boundaries of the Earth. For them, it was not just a flight, it was a chance to meet a childhood dream, with the same feeling of infinity that once caused admiration when looking at the night sky. Imagine yourself on board a Virgin Galactic suborbital rocket. The seconds before launch seem like an eternity, your heart beats faster, your hands squeeze your neighbor sitting next to you, and at the same time your head is filled with thoughts about the grandeur of space and your own fragility. And then the rocket moves forward. The loud roar of the engines mixes with a trembling in your chest and, as it were, your whole body. Weightlessness comes suddenly, a body that has obeyed gravity all its life suddenly flies, your arms and legs seem to dance in space, and the realization that the Earth has shrunk to a small blue disk below you brings tears to your eyes. Tears of fear and delight at the same time. But not all moments were safe or predictable. Passengers spoke of trembling hands, of brief moments of panic when it seemed that the system was about to fail, of a storm of emotions when the heart did not know whether to rejoice or be afraid. In such moments, the human psyche is truly tested. It is then that the awareness of the power of teams and technology appears. Every engineer, every technician, every flight control operator becomes part of this experience, part of the security that allows dreams to become reality. SpaceX took people higher, on orbital flights, where the flight lasted hours, and sometimes days. There, passengers could see the planet in all its glory: oceans, continents, fields, cities, all this from a height where all the small problems seem insignificant. Each turn of the ship opened a new angle, and people were often silent, unable to find words. They took pictures, recorded, but even the best camera could not convey the delight and inner transformation that was happening inside. Blue Origin prioritized stability and safety, making flights short but vivid. Each liftoff lasted a few minutes, but it was enough to change the perception of the world for a lifetime. Passengers emerged from the ship different, calmer, more aware, with an expanded understanding of their place in the universe. Each of them felt part of something grander than everyday worries, part of the history of humanity, not afraid to dream and take steps towards the stars. And even as the number of tourists grew and tickets became more affordable, each flight remained unique. No one can predict exactly how a person will feel at the moment of separation from Earth. Fear, admiration, the incredible beauty of the planet and space, all this is intertwined in a storm of emotions that remains in the heart forever. And it is these stories, these experiences, that make space tourism not just a business or a technological achievement, but a new form of human experience. Each flight is a lesson in courage, faith in technology, trust in people and oneself. Each passenger returns different, with a new perspective and value of life. And while we stand on the threshold of even larger projects, the colonization of the moon, future flights to Mars, space tourism continues to change the human heart and consciousness. Humanity has learned to dream further, look higher and feel incredible happiness from the fact that dreams can become reality. And so we look to the future. Space is no longer just a place for the chosen ones, it is becoming a space for all who dare to dream and experience its greatness for themselves. Each suborbital flight, each orbital flight has opened new horizons, not only in technology, but also in the minds of people. They return to Earth changed, with a heart that beats differently, with eyes that see the planet as a fragile, wonderful home. The first tourists told of the moment when they looked down at the Earth from above, a blue ball spinning in the darkness of space, where every ocean, every city, and every forest looked like part of a single living organism. They described the feeling that the world had become smaller, but at the same time had taken on a new meaning. Humanity, looking at itself from the outside, is beginning to realize the value of life, the shared planet and how fragile its balance is. The companies that made it possible didn't just build rockets and ships. They built a bridge between dream and reality, between fantasy and the human heart. SpaceX, Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic, they all opened the door to a new dimension of human experience. Every engineer, every pilot, every employee who supported these flights became part of the history that humanity was writing. But the greatest revolution is not in technology or even in flight. It is in people. In those who cried with happiness in weightlessness, in those who held hands during the launch, in those who saw the Earth for the first time from space and realized that life is a miracle. This is a story about courage, about the fact that a person is able to go beyond the usual and overcome fears for the sake of their own dreams. Every flight leaves a mark on the hearts of passengers that will never be erased. They tell of laughter bursting from the chest, of tears of joy, of a deep sense of unity with all living things. And even if you can never find yourself in space, these stories inspire you to dream and raise your head up, look at the stars and imagine yourself there. We stand on the threshold of a new era, when space travel will become commonplace, when millions of people will be able to experience the incredible. The moon, Mars, orbital hotels, all this ceases to be fantasy. Humanity is learning to dream bigger, to go further and to feel the joy of discovery. And here's the most important thing, space doesn't just open up planets, it opens up hearts. It changes the way we see the world and ourselves. Every journey into space is a lesson in courage, trust, joy, and incredible happiness. It's a reminder that dreams are possible, that limitations are only in our minds, and that human imagination and determination can lift us higher than the stars. This is the story of the people and companies that made space accessible, and the emotions they experienced on board. Fear, excitement, freedom, joy, and deep reflection, all of which leave a lasting impression. We see that space is no longer just a dream, it is part of our lives, part of the human experience, and it changes us forever. We dream, we fly, we feel. And while people look to the sky and dare to take the first step, the story of space tourism is just beginning.